In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.
Welcome to InsideSTYLE, DCRadio.gov, 96.3 HD4. I'm your host, George Worrell. Thank you for tuning into our show today. I have the pleasure of welcoming to InsideSTYLE broadcast journalist, NBC4 news anchor, Ms. Molette Green.
Oh, my goodness, George. It's so good to see you.
It is so good.
It's been a long time.
Very long time. We have a rich, long history.
We do.
I want to publicly thank you for helping to inspire and have an open door to my dream.
Oh, my goodness.
That I didn't even know was a dream at the time.
Oh, my goodness.
I would come to Channel 8 and do segments about fashion.
You did, and you did them very well.
Thank you. And you know, I'm a history major, so I was learning and you were all so kind. And then I would come to HUR. Howard would have me on the Daily Drum, and when you subbed for him, you would call me, and that was just amazing.
It was so much fun.
It was
just fun.
It was fun, but it was also educational because I had to be ready. Do you know what I mean? Like
You got to be ready.
You got to be ready.
You got to always be ready.
Always be ready. So let's talk about you. Like, you know, you're a wife, a mother, and a lover of dark chocolate.
Oh, my goodness. I had some dark chocolate before I left to come over here to meet with you. Just a little bit of dark chocolate in your life. It's very important.
It's very important. So let's talk about, you know, you are a Washingtonian.
Native Washingtonian, born and raised in this city. Not too far from where we are right now for this interview, for this podcast.
Wow. Now, how did you find growing up in Washington as opposed to how it is now?
Oh, my goodness. So different.
So different.
I am from Northeast D.C. in the Brookland community.
Okay.
And I was raised by two wonderful parents, good government workers.
Okay.
They had the same job for 40 years. And it was a working class / middle class black lifestyle.
Okay.
And it was wonderful. I went to D.C. public schools. I'm a product, proud. After that, I went to Howard University. Growing up here was, I did not know about Washington.
Okay.
I knew about the Washington, D.C. that my family experienced. And so that's how I was raised.
Okay.
My grandmother lived in Southeast, you know, in the projects. And I lived here in Northeast in a house, and my mom and dad worked very hard. But they didn't travel. We did not go on vacation like we do now. We travel the world or even just travel the country. Vacation for them was taking off work at Christmas time, and we were home at Christmas. So I enjoyed my childhood and being with my close-knit family. I'm the baby of 6 kids. But I didn't see all of Washington until college.
At Howard.
At Howard. And I saw more of Washington, and I saw more of the world at Howard University.
Okay. That opened up your eyes
It did.
to just all of the things.
Did.
Yeah.
I didn't know about being around white people. I had never really been around white people. The few teachers in my public schools, maybe I encountered some white teachers, but that was it. But just to see people, a diverse city like it is now, this wonderful melting pot of flavor, I didn't really experience that. I experienced the beautiful black side of Washington. Chocolate City.
Chocolate City, but that enhanced and gave you a footing
it did.
of who you are.
Oh, it did.
Wherever you go.
I'm proud and black.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I studied Afro-American studies at Howard University. I wanted to know more about African Americans, black people, the black diaspora. That was very important to me. I feel like if you know who you are, whose you are, where you come from, all of that, that lays the foundation to handle the world. The big bad world sometimes.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is what it is, but you have to be able to flip and...
You do.
Yeah.
And manage.
So after graduating, how was Mississippi?
It was an experience. I was there 5 years, 2 different stations. I had a great experience. I met some of the best people on the planet and ate some of the best cooked food on the planet. That's Southern food. It was wonderful, and it taught me a lot. I grew up a lot in Meridian, Mississippi, and Biloxi, Mississippi, experiencing, corporate America, people, and their beliefs. And I always say to people, young people, if you want to know who people really are, go to the Deep South. They don't sugarcoat it. No. If they like you, they'll tell you. If they don't, they will tell you. Clear. It's clear.
It's clear, because my parents are from North Carolina. So I was raised in New Jersey, but a very Southern exposure.
Oh,
so up and out. My grandparents, the whole thing. So
and then I married a man from Arkansas. Little Rock, Arkansas. There you go, George. Couldn't get away from the South.
So how did that mold your way of saying, I'm in the middle ground when you're doing stories? How do you are able to not feed in, but be partial in your interviewing, being exposed to maybe people that don't agree with what you're saying, things that you see that you had not experienced in Washington? How did you handle that?
There's some commonality in all of us, even people who don't agree with you or what you do or what you look like or who you are. We all have things that we have in common. We love our families, we love our children, we love our experiences. So you try to find that common ground. I love talking to people, and so even with difficult people and the difficult experiences, they prepared me to handle life, because it gets tougher. I was in my 20s. I was naive in so many ways. So a lot of it washed off my back, George.
Or didn't see it.
Or didn't see it, didn't feel it, didn't understand it.
Right.
But it did prepare me for, things that come your way along the way. Yeah. It didn't jade me. I'm not jaded.
Okay. Yeah. So, and that's the important thing, is just to, like you said, let it roll off your back.
That's right.
Keep it moving, knowing who you are, and that's the foundation.
Absolutely.
So we met at Channel 8.
We did.
How did you was that your first experience in front of the camera up here? Okay.
When I came back to Washington, I came back to Newschannel 8. It was in Springfield, Virginia at that time.
That's right.
Before it moved and joined with Channel 7, WJLA, merged offices in Roslyn, Virginia. What was your question? I forgot.
How was that experience? Because you were new.
Oh, my goodness.
You were back.
I was back home.
You were back home. People were seeing you.
Yes, and my high school friends and college friends who were still here, it was a party. I was back home. I felt comfortable. It was wonderful to be close to my parents, but not live back at my parents' house. Because I was independent. When I was here going to college, I stayed at home. Howard was 10 minutes from my mom's house. So I stayed off campus, and so I never left home. So going to Mississippi for 5 years and coming back to Newschannel 8, yes, I was back home. I knew where everything was. I was a little intimidated by the Beltway because, in the South, traffic doesn't flow like that.
Right.
But yeah, it was good.
What brought you to radio?
I was in radio at Howard, at WHUR Radio, and at the student-run radio station. So I've always dabbled in radio, television, and even some print. Yeah, I did.
Wow, and you do them all so well.
Aw,
it's just so
thank
natural.
you.
It's just so natural. And in this business, it's hard sometimes to, one, get that open door.
It is.
Two, to get mentorship.
Yes.
And kindness. So when you find it, you nurture it. I just think that there's room for everybody, and nobody does any one thing alike. So there's really no need to,
if we could get everybody to see it that way, I see it that way too.
Yeah. I mean, we're always going to see a level of something.
Yeah.
But I just think the positivity adds to longevity.
Oh, I agree. 100%.
Just being nice to be nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that has gotten me far. I am not, this is a competitive business, television news, radio, all of it is competitive and cutthroat at times. I never engaged in that. I probably lost some opportunities by not fighting like that for something, but I always felt like if it's meant to be, it will be. I'll put myself out there. I'll do a good job. If it's meant to be, it'll be mine. And I don't regret that at all.
How do you take that approach with being a wife, a mother, and your career? How is that? Now, I think it may be a little easier because you are partnered, you're married, but not so much. Tell us.
I mean, it's always challenging. I mean, just being a wife, a partner, a mother, and then the career woman, all of that is crazy, okay? And there's no balance. You know, you're not, that's a whole fallacy. There's never balance.
Yeah, because you're like,
you can't be good at one thing, at all of that at the same time. You have to pick and choose, and that's what I do. My major focus is my children right now. I love my career. I work hard, but I have learned to understand and appreciate that you cannot have a good life if you dedicate all of it to your career, George. You have to have time for yourself. You have to have time for family, the things that, feed into you and give you grace, give you a reason to be faithful. You got to do all of that. I mean, it took a while. It took a process. In my 20s, I thought, I don't want any family, kids. I'm all about me, and I'm all about career.
Okay.
I'm not in my 20s anymore. It's been a while. And so I understand what really is valuable right now. And imparting good character into my children. I have 2 teenage girls. One is about to graduate high school. The other is a freshman in high school. Pray for me, everybody. It is a challenge because the world is different. Social media is crazy. And our kids are coming out of this pandemic forever changed. Forever impacted in ways that we won't know for quite some time. But they are impacted. It's different. That's my first priority always.
I think we all are. I think we all came out of the pandemic different. And what we experienced before that, I don't think it'll ever be the same.
Absolutely not. You are so correct.
And this is, I'm a great proponent of mental health.
Absolutely.
And whatever your faith is, for it to be strong. Because I know personally that I experienced some things during the pandemic that I'd never, ever experienced before. And especially in our community, mental health was not really something that was high on the bar.
Oh, yeah. We don't talk about it. You just pray it away.
Pray it away. Talk to your girlfriend about it. Or,
Go have some fried chicken and some good
have
macaroni
a couple
and
cocktails.
Cheese. And a cocktail. Okay, don't forget the cocktail. But that doesn't help.
That's not going to help.
Yeah.
You're going to have some extra to do.
We are all forever changed. And our children... we can at least process it as adults. Our frontal lobe is fully formed, so we can understand and reason, but they can't. And so the children, our kids, are struggling. They're in crisis. And mental health is, I believe, the number one issue that we have to address today because of what many of us didn't survive the pandemic. I know girlfriends and sorority sisters who had to bury children who took their own lives because they couldn't handle it. I'm one of the lucky ones. I still have my kids with me. They are impacted. And so, yes, mental health is the top of the list.
Top of the list. So let me ask you, since the day that I met you,
yes,
you were always fashionably
George, you're so good for my self-esteem.
And styled. How do you, where do you go? What do you do? What do you think? Is there a middle ground of how you are going to dress for television, for radio, when you go see your people? How's your closet? Tell us about your closet.
Oh, it's all over the place. I need you, George. I have clothing for television. I have clothing, anchor clothing. I have in the field clothing. I have clothing to go out with my good girlfriends. For different looks for different events. That's what you have to do as a grown woman. To be good and grown and to be chic and sassy in this world. It's a challenge, though. I have teenage kids, and so I bleed money that goes right into their hair or into their desired items. I'm not a girl who needs a label.
Okay.
I have some, but I don't need a label.
That's good.
And I don't think you need to have a label to be fashionable. I think you need to be comfortable in your skin, know your body, know what looks good on your body.
Were you with me?
I learned from you.
But so the thing that I say to my clients is identified well-made garments.
That's it.
That's it. It could come from Target. It could come from TJ Maxx.
Sometime.
Thrifting.
Yes.
I've done that forever. And, you mix and match.
And I have a whole mix. I have stuff that I've bought that's designer labels and right down to the thrift.
Now I have some, for shoes. My shoes, that's...
Now, I haven't been able to get into the thrifting on the shoes.
No.
No luck on that.
That's grade A for me. You have certain things I have friends that are bags, the bag people. So they buy designer bags, but they will compromise maybe on the dress or the suit.
Absolutely.
But there's one thing that you say, okay, full price, I'd love it on sale, but full price, I'm going to do, I'm that person.
Same here.
Yeah.
I like a good bag.
Do you?
I do.
Well, I'm looking
I don't have a bag with me.
So,
because I'm coming straight here from work.
Right.
So,
but you have a collection.
I have a small, tiny section.
But of items of...
Quality.
Yeah.
High end. Very small section.
Okay.
When these kids get out of my payroll, my bank account, maybe I'll invest more.
So I'm sure our listeners out there, many of them can identify with what you're saying when you have... And that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Because, I know it was just me, but my parents, they had to consider your kids before yourself.
Absolutely.
And I have a dog, Max, who's a Boston Terrier. And it's like my child. It's, vet, it's medicine, it's...
And when you go out of town, you have to board your baby.
He has a babysitter.
You got to pay those fees.
Got to pay those fees.
Same here. We have a dog, Gizmo, a Shih Tzu, 20 pounds of just loveliness, but expensive.
And his whole attitude is, you brought me here.
Exactly.
So,
It's a responsibility.
It's a responsibility.
It's a responsibility.
It's a responsibility.
Yeah, and my kids are very fashionable. But they know how to do it on a budget.
Okay. Well, that's good. So you've taught them
They
well.
don't want to do it on a budget, but they know how to do it on a budget.
Okay.
I have taught them. Yeah, you want to look good? Let's figure out how we can do it.
And there's a word that that's in the fashion culture that I wish they would amend, and that's trend.
Ooh, yeah.
Because trend, Madison Avenue keeps you constantly purchasing. When you find your personal style, and I always say, and you know this, is that you should know more about your body and your style than the person that's selling it to you.
Absolutely.
So you can have items in your closet that you should be able to get more than one look out of.
Absolutely.
Like what you're wearing today, you can put a jacket on with
Absolutely.
it, a sweater, a different color. Like you can get different outfits.
Absolutely.
Not have the belt, not a hat with a hat. All of those things.
Right.
And it's a different outfit because those monies now have to go in so many different directions.
I've learned to do that over the years. I didn't know how in my 20s. I learned it in my 30s, perfected it in my 40s. And, now I know how to make a look work and look multifaceted depending on the blazer, the belt, the shoe that you put it with. It's really good. It's really good.
Do you still dream?
Yeah, I do. I dream a lot.
What do you dream of? Tell us some of your dreams.
Oh, I dream.
Is it career? Is it
Some days.
Some days.
Some days I dream about career and things that I want. I quit the business for 10 years to have children and to be home. And so I just got back in this business 10 years ago, full time. But that was important to me, starting a family and starting it off the way I wanted to start it. And so I dream about that. I dream of retirement, traveling the world. I dream of having vacation homes. I dream. My husband and I dream. I dream right now of getting this 12th grader out of my house into college and, getting us through this period of prom season and all of that. Yeah, I dream all the time.
You have a dream.
I have many dreams. But yeah, I dream of just really being happy, fulfilled. Not happy, because happy is an emotion that's fleeting. Monday you can be happy, Tuesday you can be sad. I dream of staying in a joyful place. You can have joy in times of sorrow. I dream about living my life that way and strategizing about how to get to that point. I don't want to lose having those kinds of dreams, and then you're not living. You have to have something to strive for, George. Come on. You need goals.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, my parents, they grew up in the Jim Crow South. So when they came north, working and pulling together and having such a better life and wanting a better life for me was their dreams and goals. Like, they went places, my friends, I had a small pool of friends, but a large family.
Yeah.
So that's all I saw, and we still are that way. So it really does, when they say a village, it's that family. We also, in paralleling that, my company does the Marionberry Summer Youth Program.
Yeah.
So we have about 100 to 140 14 to 16-year-olds.
My first job came in that program.
Everybody I talk to from
I know.
I love it. That's a legacy of Marionberry.
Absolutely.
Is that he is the only black man that I know that left a legacy over 40 years where kids will have an opportunity to learn, earn, and people leave out, small businesses can contract and they know where their money is coming from for 6 weeks.
Absolutely.
For 42 years, 43 years.
I remember my first job at the Environmental Policy Institute. It was located in Southeast D.C., Capitol Hill section, near Pennsylvania Avenue, and that was my first opportunity to really experience, this world is bigger than just my little northeast quadrant of the city. I see that there are possibilities for me. And I did a great job.
I know you did. But that's the important part. I think sometimes we can be shy. Don't you think that you need to know how good you are? And there's a way of...
I didn't know it then. I was shy.
But
I
at
didn't
some
have
point,
confidence. I didn't have a network. I didn't know how to network. So that put me in a place where I was uncomfortable. You got to get uncomfortable, right? To shake it up so you can learn. And so being there and being around people that didn't look like me and had different experiences really opened my eyes. They were very nice and sweet and receptive, and it just allowed me to dream.
And flourish.
And plan.
Okay.
And think outside of the box.
What is your advice we're celebrating Women's History Month.
Yes.
And what is your advice to women in general that are maybe going into your field or going into fields? What is your advice to them? What would you tell them?
We just had the Oscars, and Michelle Yeoh, who won her first Oscar, first Asian woman, she said in her victory acceptance speech that ladies, never let them tell you are, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but basically out of your prime. My advice to women is to dream big, keep pushing, and to also rest. Take time for yourself and to replenish.
Wow, I think we can all take that.
Oh, yeah. We need to do that, especially as Black women. We are carrying too many loads, and we historically have done that, George, and we have got to stop being so strong. We have got to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, human, to rest, to recover, and to heal, and to go after our dreams even harder, and unapologetically do so.
And that's the part that they all go together, and that's the part that we were talking about earlier, is that knowing your own value and knowing your own worth.
Sometimes it takes a minute to get there.
It does.
It did for me.
Okay.
But I'm there, and it was a good ride to get there, bumpy, but I got there.
But I learned from the bumps.
I did. They hurt though.
They hurt.
But I learned.
But you learned, and you knew, this is not the way that I want to go.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you do, but you know what to expect.
Absolutely.
And you just keep it moving.
Absolutely.
And so I keep going back to what it is about you that you exude confidence and kindness.
Thank you for that.
There's something, and it's hard to see because I've never, our paths have crossed. We've seen each other socially, those kinds of things in different, circumstances. You've always been kind.
Well, I grew up in the church, and I understand humility, and I understand grace. That's important, and it stays with me. And I understand that this place in my life I worked for, I envisioned, I conceptualized, from the husband to the kids to the career. But without grace, I would not be there. And then the confidence part, like I said, it didn't start off that way. It took a while. And there are days and moments where you still feel a little nicked from the bruising of life. But at the end of the day, I know who I am. And that's what I try to model for the girls, for my children, because that's very important. And for the people that I see in the community. Because I grew up watching Renee Poussaint, who was a Black woman on the news, and she gave me the dream and the inspiration. God rest her soul. And so there are other little girls, little Black girls, little girls of color, boys of color, who are watching me every day or hearing me on the radio. I know that I'm inspiring someone.
You are.
And so I have a responsibility to show up the right way. With confidence and kindness.
And faith?
Absolutely. At the core.
The core.
At the core.
At home, in the car, walking.
Everywhere.
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 Well, we could talk all day.
Yes, we could.
And
we didn't even talk about fashion like I thought we were.
Well,
I was ready. But it
did.
comes from within.
It does.
Style and fashion and feeling good about yourself. And so that's what we talked about.
Yeah.
That was good, George.
That was good. Well, you'll come back and we'll finish
Anytime.
it. Maybe we'll come, because we film, we can come in your closet and just kind of tour.
I don't know. I'm a little self-conscious about that closet situation right now.
Well, I'll come first, and then I'll come first and give you a little, I'm sure it's not needed. But thank you so much. How can people, our listeners, you're on Instagram, how can they reach out? What is it?
On Instagram, I am The Real Molette. The Real Molette.
Yes, you are.
On Facebook and Twitter, it's just Molette Green, at Molette Green. But The Real Molette.
Real style starts with being comfortable in your own skin. We'll see you next time.
In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.